Hi, my name is Jonathan Moffat with Aligned Advisors, and thanks for joining me for another episode of Stepping Away. All right, so today I'm going to talk about a concept that we share with doctors when I'm speaking, or sometimes when we're onboarding new clients. We'll have this conversation. People often ask, Jonathan, who's the best type of client that you work with? Who's the best type of doctor that's a good fit for your practice? And I said, the way that I answer that question is usually I talk about three different types of people. Now, I was reminded about this last week when I came home from work, and I came home to this. This is Preston, my 6-year-old son, who had decided for some reason that he was going to experiment with some scissors. Now, I don't know if this was a do-it-yourself-er moment or if he was collaborating with someone in class at school who decided to hand him the scissors. Either way, the result looks amazing, to say the least. Now, luckily, we were able to take him to a barber and they were able to fix it, and hair will grow back. But unfortunately, sometimes conversations I have with individuals or doctors who tend to have this mentality of do it yourself doesn't always result in something that can be as easily fixed as a quick haircut or a quick trip to the barber. Conversations that I typically have almost on a weekly basis typically go something like this. Hey, Jonathan, I was listening to a webinar, or I was at a seminar and I heard this concept, or I was reading a book a year ago and I wanted to think of a way to keep my associate engaged. And so I decided to sell them a percentage of my practice. And now I'm not sure that's what I want to do. Or I started having this conversation with them about buying in and becoming a partner. And now after they've worked with me for a few months, I've realized that maybe they're not the kind of partner I want to have. Or I wanted to buy this piece of real estate and I realized that now I'm in it and it's not turning as much cash flow, or I wanted to grow to a second or a third practice and this practice that I bought isn't cash flowing or isn't what I thought. Do-it-yourselfers are the ones they like to get the information, and then they like to just kind of do it themselves. This concept reminds me of a time I was at dinner with a client and a friend of his they were both dentists. My client's friend was going to be buying a practice, his first practice actually. And he had done this all himself. He found the practice, he had talked to the doctor, he had audited the charts, he had put the purchase agreement together, and he couldn't get financing from the bank. And so he went and raised money basically from friends and family to buy this practice. Well, he was telling me as we were at dinner that he just happened to go by the practice on a Friday evening and ran into his next door neighbor who was also a dentist. He started talking to that dentist and introduced himself. Hi, I'm Dr. So-and-so, and I'm going to be buying the practice next door. We're closing next week. Nice to meet you. And the doctor that was there looked at him kind of puzzled, and he was like, well, what do you mean you're buying the practice next door? And this doctor said, yeah, I'm closing on the practice next door. We close next week. And the doctor looks at him and he's like, I'm actually here waiting for my contractor to show up because I've already bought that practice, and we're getting ready to tear down the wall and create one big practice. See, this doctor has no clue how lucky he was that he happened to run into the doctor next door on a Friday evening who happened to be there waiting for his contractor. Otherwise, he would have been buying a practice that had already been sold. Now, obviously, this is a crazy circumstance, but it's a true story. And that client did go on to then take my advice and get engaged with a broker and go through a bank and the proper due diligence, hired an attorney to purchase a practice in Northern California about a year later. So many times I end up having conversations with doctors who have good intentions. They are trying to accomplish something that they think is going to get them to where they ultimately want to be. But because they're doing it themselves and haven't surrounded themselves with a team of experts, a lot of times it ends up resulting in either something that is not as easily fixed as a haircut, and a lot of times it ends up being very costly, maybe even setting them back, not making as much progress as maybe they thought they would. The next category of individuals that I talk about are people that we call collaborators. Now, collaborators are kind of like do-it-yourselfers, but they talk to a lot of people. So they'll talk to their CPA, they'll talk to their attorney, they'll talk to people at events. They may even, join a couple of chat groups or go on and join different, maybe some masterminds, and they get some ideas, and then they go and they implement that again on their own. And again, I'm not knocking in any of these categories. What I've seen over my career is that you can only reach certain levels of success and with each of these categories, right? And so you hit a plateau or a ceiling in each of these categories where you can only go so high. So I would go out on a limb, and obviously this is a generalization. This does not apply to everybody, but just from what I've observed and seen throughout my own career, is do-it-yourselfers will only go so far. And then they reach a point where either their time just becomes, they don't have the time, or their time becomes more valuable to focus and on other things. And so they never quite hit that level of success that they'd like. Or they kind of peak out in of their expertise, and they're kind of forced into the next segment, which is collaborators, where they start collaborating with maybe people that have already gone down that road before them, or have, maybe they, talk with other colleagues that have been down that road, and then they can kind of maybe get a little bit higher. So they hit their ceiling, then they collaborate with a few other people, and they bump that ceiling up maybe a little bit higher, right? But they never quite hit the pinnacle, or they can never quite get to their maximum success or their maximum level of output that they could, or that people do when you fall into this third category, which are delegators. So when people ask me, Jonathan, who are the best types of people that you work with, the best clients for your firm, I say they're delegators. They're individuals, they're successful doctors who realize that their time is better spent focusing on only the things that they can do and that they can have an impact on, and then delegating everything else out to a team. Now, whether that's a team of subject matter experts like what we've put together at Aligned Advisors, or whether that's their clinical team, or whether that's their team in their practice or their DSO, they surround themselves with experts in different fields. They delegate to them. They let them help them, guide them, and take them down the path, and listen to their instructions and listen to their guidance. And then they even, in our case, at Aligned Advisors, we even go a step further in implementing that advice on behalf of the client. So really just leaving the doctor to focus on and spend their time on only the things that they can control that will have the highest and greatest impact on their life. And if you think about this, it's really not that different than, think about some of the most successful athletes. When you turn pro, they have coaches, they have dietitians, nutritionists, they have physical therapists, right? They have this team of people that help them be the most elite athlete that they possibly can, right? They're on the PGA Tour, but they still have a swing coach. They're still working on how to perfect their game, right? Yeah, they're in the NFL, but they may have a catching coach or a running coach or a throwing coach, right? No different than in business. People, even as successful as Elon Musk, have what are called family offices. This is a team of professionals, experts, that handle all of the aspects on the personal side of their life, because they have realized that their time is better spent figuring out how not to blow up a rocket, or how to put a car into outer space orbiting the Earth, or how to put out thousands of satellites, than it is to worry about how should I be titling this next asset that I'm going to be buying, or putting XYZ assets in the trust, or whatever those other items might be. They've realized that their time is more valuable spent on focusing on those things only they can control that will have the highest and greatest impact in their life. So be a delegator. If you don't have a team of people you can delegate to, begin to build that team. And if you don't have the time, or I would say time probably better spent not building that team, feel free to reach out to us. We've already done that legwork for you. Now we're going to have an upcoming event in October 14th and 15th in Newport Beach called Stepping Away. During this 2-day event, you will have the opportunity to, one, listen and hear from your colleagues, your peers, on how they have been able to put together a plan to help them get to where they want to be and achieve their goal of stepping away or practicing on their terms. Now, we're going to be talking a lot about this concept about building an action plan, but not only an action plan that you can delegate to a team of people. We're going to talk about identifying those individuals either in your life or maybe not in your life, that maybe should be in your life, that you can delegate more items to, so that you can focus on those things that only you can control, that'll have the highest and greatest impact in your life. Doing it this way will allow you to achieve the goals you want to achieve and hit that maximum peak performance and success that you know you're capable of. So be a collaborator. We look forward to seeing you. Hopefully you can join us in our event, and put down the scissors and let's pick up the pen to put together your 90-day action plan. You don't want to have that look on your face when your associate comes to you and says, hey, I want to buy into your practice, before you're ready to have that conversation. So we look forward to seeing you. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, and have a great day. Bye.